R. Kelly, they got people out there marching.
Great hero. Tell the king I said I love him. Okay. Another measly gathering from R. Kelly supporters, as I reported yesterday, and shout out to everybody who tunes in every day to get my rundown and recap of what's happening in the trial. Some of them are showing up as early as 2 a.m. to make sure they can show up and support this miserable brother, okay? We saw more chalk
She
from the
said
kids laid out on the sidewalk. They
people showing
came
up at
back,
2
they
a.m. to
refreshed it,
support
they
him.
rinsed it again, and the kids are still bored at home wondering why they can't draw their hopscotch squares. And it's because, simply put, their parents are out here stalking R. Kelly and trying to support his ass. So let's go ahead and move along. I want to talk about Joycelyn Savage. A lot of people are wondering, is she going to testify? Interestingly enough, Jocelyn still classifies as one of R. Kelly's girlfriends. In my opinion, that's the only girlfriend he
Right
got left.
here is when
Everybody else left at some point or another
that
in
man asked, "Do we like
2019. As for Clary, who was
teenage
James
girls?"
35,
He
she
gonna
left.
say,
And when she was
"By
still there,
by
though, there was
teenager,
just two
what
of
you
them
mean,
left. That was just
nigga?
Joycelyn
Teenager's a
Savage and
teenager."
her.
I can't
Now,
believe
I
he
did
said
get
that.
some
He
information
sounded
from her
guilty
father
then.
with regards to if she's going to testify or not. So I want you to take a look at this, and we'll come right back and talk.
We, as the Savages, will be in New York between the 30th, August the
What is
30th,
Joycelyn Savage father, I think?
and September the 3rd. This is supposed to be the week where my daughter is supposed to take this stand. And we are going to do everything in our power to make sure that she doesn't take the stand. The truth shall reveal, the truth shall come out, as it is already coming out about this case, which we've known some of these facts that came out in the past.
And that is what Tim Savage had to say, father of Joycelyn Savage. What's really interesting is when we initially heard, because she is still pro R. Kelly, right? Common sense would tell you she would be on the defense. She would be trying to defend him and basically trying to tear down and refute what the accusers and witnesses are saying. So with 50 witnesses, right, that the government, the prosecution needs to get through, a lot of people are wondering, like, wait a minute, if they're saying that she's going to be testifying next week, how do they think that we're going to get through 50 witnesses as far as the government is concerned before we get to Joycelyn? And I think the only logical explanation is, I think we need to keep in mind, is that the government might have subpoenaed Joycelyn to testify. So it's really unclear. It's, in my opinion, if Joycelyn is going to be testifying next week, that has to be for the prosecution. They're not going to be done with 50 witnesses within the span of the next week. So, like I said, 2 additional folks got on the stand. I want to tell you who they are. And so, just to give you a rundown, like I said, Robert Kelly,
It
some
don't
of this
look
may be
good for
repetitive to
him.
those of y'all who have really been following closely, and make sure y'all hit thumbs up. I work hard to get y'all this. It's almost 4 in the morning. I got to be to work at 8:30, okay? So, I appreciate your super chats, and I appreciate your cash chats that I get sometimes throughout the day for y'all appreciating my hard work. So Robert is 54 years old. He's facing a slew of charges, racketeering based on kidnapping, sexual exploitation of children, forced labor, and he's charged with violations of the Mann Act, which prohibit the transport of people across state lines for sex. Prosecutors have alleged that R. Kelly abused at least 6 women and girls, 4 of whom were minors, when he first had sexual contact with them. At least 2 of them say they contracted herpes after R. Kelly knowingly
Damn, they
exposed
said they
them
contracted
to the
herpes.
disease. So boom, let's get right into the former employee testimony that I was telling you about a little earlier. This person, his name is Tom Arnold. He previously worked for R. Kelly from 2004 to 2011. He was a studio manager, and he is the 13th witness that we've seen on the stand so far.
Damn, they
We've
got some
seen 2
employees
accusers. I'm going to get
testifying.
into the 3rd one, but this is the 13th witness for the prosecution. So Tom Arnold, although he started working for R. Kelly in 2004, he's known R. Kelly since 1998. And although his name is Tom Arnold, he is not to be confused with the one who was an actor on the sitcom Roseanne, okay? It's not him. So he started off working at one of Robert's Chicago studios, and then he transitioned to work at the Chocolate Factory, which is inside of his mansion in Kelly Olympia Fields. In addition to collecting young teenagers, controlling their every move, and forcing them to perform devious, disgusting, and humiliating acts, R. Kelly is also a nightmare of a boss who would fine you if you made a mistake, according to what Tom Arnold is saying, which is ultimately why he quit working for R. Kelly. And thank you so much for the $9.99 super chat. I appreciate that. And thank y'all. If you're not going to donate, that's fine. Just hit that goddamn thumbs up button. So this is why he stopped working for R. Kelly in October of 2011. So Robert was 44 years old at the time, right? He's 54 now, but we're going to go back to what made this witness quit in 2011. In 2011, Robert was 44 years old, okay? And he was taking quote-unquote female friends to Disney World. Robert, you were taking girls, okay, to Disney World, and you're 44 years old. No wonder this trip went to shit. But okay, let's keep going. So he booked this very last minute. He instructed the studio manager, this former employee that testified, book a tour guide, essentially, and really to book the whole trip. And because it was very last minute, this trip was for him and his female friends, he was scrambling to make the arrangements, but he did. He still got the job done. He found a tour guide, but there was a problem. It was a male tour guide. R. Kelly wasn't fond of this. And I quote what Tom said in court today. He said, "I took the first person I could get, and it was a gentleman," end quote. Tom also stated on the stand that nobody else was available, and that is why he booked the male tour guide, although it was one of Rob's rules, and I quote what Tom said in court today. He said it needed to be a woman. It always had to be a female tour guide, end quote. So the male tour guide also went against Rob's rules. You all know I've been talking about Rob's rules since we started covering this, and essentially it was that lengthy, ridiculous list of rules that the girls and the women had to follow that he had in his possession, for lack of a better term. But it's not
Y'all
really
comment
true.
down
He
below
also
if
had
y'all
rules
think
for his employees as
R.
well.
Kelly
And
gonna
so
get out of this.
this broke Rob's
Like,
rule
comment,
because his
subscribe, turn on your
girlfriends,
post
Robert's
notifications
girlfriends,
so that way
couldn't
you
be
know
around
every time
other
I
men,
upload a
and they were
video.
not allowed to
Good night, you
make
guys.
eye